Benjamin Franklin, a businessman.
Ben Franklin, a true rags to riches tale. Hard work really got him to where he's at, but it doesn't end there, no.
Franklin did, in fact, work very hard on his reading and writing skills. It was a major priority in his life that he would excel in those two categories.
You see, Franklin was very well known for his hard work in all areas of his life. At the printing press, he would get there the earliest and leave the latest.
Franklin also worked extremely hard in the craft of printing. Once he started the profession, he mastered it. Everyone around him marveled at his work ethic, which therefore led to his ability of being an unbelievable presser of the print.
Now, the polish that a established businessman exhibits, this sort of air, Franklin had mastered by a very young age. He was very observant and very conscious of how others perceived him. And through this, he kind of manipulated himself and therefore his image to be held in high regard with all who interacted with him.
In his autobiography, Franklin says, "I took care not only to be in reality industrious and frugal, but to avoid all appearances to the contrary." Franklin dressed plainly. He was seen at no places of idle diversion. He never went out a fishing or shooting. He even was known to buy paper at the store, as you can see here.
Ben Franklin spent countless hours reading as a child, and this continued into adulthood. In fact, in place of church on Sundays, he often stayed home and read. This rewarded him in terms of business and personal interaction, because his vocabulary was so extensive and he was so articulate that in interactions, business meetings, often with his business partner Khyber, he would shine so brightly because he simply outspoke his fellow colleagues in competition.
Oh, howdy, Dr. Senegal. How are you doing?
Oh, yes, it's good to see you too, Khyber. I see you brought young Franklin. Always a pleasure, Benjamin.
Yes, how are you doing this morning? We're here to inquire about our past contract. It's almost up to the renewal date, and we were just wondering if you were considering renewing your contract with us.
Yes, we're gonna get a new contract for this quarter.
Why, yes, I'm doing very well. Very well indeed, and of course I'm interested in renewing my contract with your printing press.
No rush, but our rates have been extremely high as they haven't been in the past. And I've actually just purchased a recent rival shop. It was failing and kind of expanded my space in the market up to 75% of the Philadelphia printing market.
Oh, Franklin, you speak so eloquently. Such a large vocab. Such a pleasure being in your presence today. Oh, Khyber, you got a real stud there in Franklin.
Yes, Franklin, I'm the master here. We know you and yes.
Yes, I am aware of your authority.
Yes, you are. But how are you doing, Dr. Senegal?
I'm sure he's doing fine. The fair weather here is just absolutely wonderful in Philadelphia. It gets quite crude with all the work.
You know what, Franklin? If I love you.
For this was really unbelievable. Khyber, being the so-called master in being so dominant in their relationship, for Franklin to be more respected by clients is just a phenomenon. And it really proves how Franklin mastered the human interaction of business.
It went from the simple things, as my colleague has stated, showing up to work early and being seen leaving late. The key is being seen. He was such a master of calculating and interpreting and anticipating how others would perceive him. The key is being seen. It was done to be seen. Franklin wasn't that industrious. He was just doing it to be held in high regard. And like this, he applied in many other fields of his life and used this to move up the ladder, both social and in the terms of business.
Franklin was a brash networker. When he first opened up his printing press in Philadelphia, Bradford was still printing the House of the Governor's addresses, laws, and rules. Franklin thought that he was just doing an awful job. So he printed his own address of the Governor's, sent one to each individual member of the House. And from that point on,
Franklin gained many contacts in the business of the House of the Governor.
Franklin went very far out of his way to send these addresses to the governor's house when Bradford was the one being employed by the governor. It just goes to show how Franklin was willing to do anything to make connections and how much he valued the connections he made. It proved to be a prudent move by Franklin as he gained the respect and the business of the house. When Franklin was 30, by which time his Pennsylvania Gazette was the most widely read newspaper in the colonies, Franklin campaigned to be made clerk of the Pennsylvania Assembly. The job was so boring for Franklin, he would often make up mathematical puzzles on the job to just pass the time. However, the job gave him valuable connections. This proves he would do anything to get connections, even a terribly boring job.
Franklin's Junto Club, an assembly of intellectuals he founded, was essentially a tangible iteration of Franklin's master network.
Franklin organized weekly meetings of a small group of other tradesmen and artisans, which they called the Junto Club. At their weekly meetings, they asked how they may be serviceable to mankind, to their country, to their friends, or to themselves. In between establishing a university, hospital, mending library, militia, firefighting brigade, learned society, and insurance company, Franklin and his fellow Junto members sent plenty of business each other's way. This goes to show Franklin used the Junto Club to strengthen his connections within the community.
Whoa! How are you doing? Yes, I was just using the lavatory. Actually, I just had this water closet installed. I've been working with the Junto Club to kind of inspire small business in Philadelphia. Just trying to impute my entrepreneurial spirit on the people. That's kind of the work myself and my fellow members of the Junto do. Actually, my good friend, Jacob Rader, you're here. Jake is a member of the Junto Club. He actually helped me in founding the public library. Jake is one of the most well-read men in all of the colonies.
have you ever met someone so smart and wise it makes you uncomfortable? That's this guy right here. Good day.
Such a quick sense of humor he has.
As I'm sure everyone knows, Jordan Belfort is referred to as the Wolf of Wall Street. Well, I say Ben Franklin is the Wolf of Broad Street. Of course. Of course. Of course.
Many don't think of Ben Franklin when they think of captains of industry, the kind of lords of the business world. Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Mellon, John D. Rockefeller. And in actuality, these men were inspired by Benjamin Franklin, following the very footsteps he set forth in his life and thusly printed in his autobiography.
It has been said that in his day, Franklin was Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, Mark Zuckerberg, and Henry Ford all rolled into one. Franklin's mastery of the human interaction of business really led to him making the big bucks. In a recent poll, it is said Franklin made over $10.3 billion if you take into account inflation. That is the 181st most ever. This man became very rich. It is very clear, once one masters areas such as networking and individual appearance, the Benjamins won't stop coming.
A man like that is hard to find, but I can't get him off my mind. Ain't he sad?
Ben Franklin, the boy, the man, the dog.
So I must leave.